Hi, Dougie Burr from Doug Bird's Tackle World here on the Gold Coast for this week's fishing report, the 18th and 19th of December 2021. Okay, last week we had the young Stewie from the shop here, did a great job whilst I was away. He did a live fishing report for you guys with lots of detail. Mine's always a bit shorter. And we ended up having a trip away with my wife for our 20th anniversary up at the Whitsundays, and we had a great time, caught lots of fish. We'll talk about that later. But we're here today to talk about this week's fishing report. So firstly, some of you guys might be going on holidays now, some of you may not, but for those of you who are, you come off to a good start for holidays. We've got some really good weather tomorrow, sort of 10 to 15 knots, which is better than 30. And Sunday is similar, Sunday morning's around 10 to 15, and we've got about a 20 knot northeast breeze in the afternoon, which is a bit more than they forecast the last couple of days, but anyhow, it changes every day. So guys, you've got to be right onto it on the day, in the morning when you wake up. That's the way it is. So we'll start offshore, and it's been really good. So this past week, there's been a lot of dolphin fish caught on the last couple of days. Today was a bit quiet though, guys. I don't know why, but there was a bit of a storm front out there this morning, and it sort of put the fish off a bit, but yesterday they smacked them. So anywhere from the 36 fads and the 50 fads out around Spot X is really good. There's guys catching heaps of even yellowfin tuna, and they were smacking those on stick baits and poppers. The school was erupting on the surface, there's bait everywhere. Dolphin fish up to sort of 1.3 metres, 1.2 is common, which is around that sort of 15 kilo size, so really good size. There was also 8 to 15 kilos. There was also other fish in amongst them. There was little blacks, there was striped marlin. It was really good, and I would expect similarly in the next couple of days, as long as we get some nice warm water at the moment, which is around that 26 degrees. Now, funnily enough, yesterday it actually blew east-northeast, and that's when the fish bit. Today it blew south-southeast, and they didn't bite, and that's not normal, but that's the way it is. But the current today picked up a little bit. It's around about a knot to the south, so it's really good for bottom fishing as well at the moment. So, but we're talking about trolling. So most of the fish at the moment, and it always happens every year, they bite on skirts at the start of the season. They don't really go to live baits too much. The dollies will run the fads at certain times. But trolling little skirts, like this type of thing here, is the gun, okay? So it's like little paculas, whatever you want. Long heads long, short heads short. That little fella there's been an absolute humdinger. That one worked really well this morning for us. We got some tuna on that this morning actually at the front. That's an evil little Uzi. And they've got, this is the new fish print Uzi, which has just come out. I think we're the first guys on the East Coast to get these. We just got them yesterday actually, so they're fresh off the batch. They're quite good value too, they're about 20 bucks a lure with the discount. So troll your skirts, place them out sort of 20, 30, 40, 50 metres back, and cover some good ground, like troll around that sort of in around the fads along that sort of 60 to 70 metre line, zigzagging, and also troll that 80 to 90 metre line, which is around Spot X and the 50 fathom reefs, both north and south. There doesn't seem to be any particular area that's really working better than the other. Just you just got to try the fads and try where the reef is and try and find the bait. It's really important to find the bait. The other thing too is there's still a lot of logs and crap floating out there from the recent flooding we had a few weeks ago, and that stuff's been out in the water now for like 3 weeks. It's got growth on it, it's got bait hanging around it, and it's obviously got fish hanging around it. And for the guys of you out there that might have found some of that last weekend out there fishing, or prior to last weekend before the weather went bad, you may have had an absolute one of those holy grail days where you had really heaps of dolphin fish and wahoo and marlin and sharks and just everything going off. And if you can find that again this weekend or the next few days, enjoy it because it's really good fun. I've done that a few times in my life, and it's fantastic. So yeah, do that. The other thing you do when you're in that situation, if you do find something like that, or even a fad, try casting minnows like that as well. These are quite heavy, they're like 40 grams. And as I keep saying, I've used this before, they smack the dolphin fish. They love these things. So they sink down and just crank it back, and they smack them. They're really good. But that would be my first choice this weekend, would be obviously trolling, okay? Trolling skirts and small skirts. and on sort of 8 to 15 kilo or 50 pound braid if you want to try braid, and give that a shot. Other than that, the water is 26 out there, but enclosed it's still a bit cooler, and it would definitely be worth having a go for the snapper, although the water is clearing up pretty quick. I was pretty impressed this morning when we come in just after high tide. The water was quite clear in close, so the snapper may still be there, but definitely worth the last shot at doing that as well on the snapper. But out in the 36 fathoms reefs, there's been plenty of trag and a few snapper and plenty of parrot, lots of parrotfish, tusk fish, and a few big reef flatties and stuff like that. On the 50 fathom reefs, particularly on the outside edge in that 100 metre line, there's been some good pearlies at the moment. And there's also been a few snapper, and there's been a lot of kingies and amberjack. So if you're into the jigging scene, slow pitch or fast, that's definitely worth a go, okay? So particularly on the 50 fathoms northeast and on the 50 fathoms east of the seaway, give that a shot, jigging. Okay, P3 slow pitch or P5 to 8 fast jigging. And give that a shot. Deep dropping, as I said, I was out this morning, it's only not a current in 100 metres, it's very slow. So definitely worth deep dropping this weekend. There's a few guys I know going out tomorrow to have a shot at it. Fairly unusual to be able to do it in December, but for some reason the current's not too bad. And it would definitely be worth a go. But I think there's a bit of a current coming in, looking at the rip charts there last night. Might be coming in over the next few days, so get out there while you can before that current comes in, but that current's great for trolling, okay? And other than that, spanner crabs. The season opened yesterday, and everyone is back out there spanner crabbing. I'd be definitely hanging in that sort of 50 to 54 metres, or 48 to 54 metres off that Q1 surface paradise area, okay? And try and get there early morning before the wind gets up. It's a nice spanner crab and it's not too windy. And there'll be big crabs, and you'll stock up for around Chrissy, okay? That's probably about it for offshore at the moment. If you do all that, you'll be in for some fun, okay? Sorry, one last thing. They got a few mackerel down at Palmy. I think this morning there was about 60 boats down there apparently. They always start at Palm Beach early in the season. That's just the way it is. They start at Palmy, you get the odd ones at Southport and Mermaid, but they start at Palm Beach, and it'll be like that for about the next 4 weeks till around Boxing Day or early January. Then they'll slowly creep up to Mermaid and the gravel patch, and then they'll get up to Southport sometime in January, and then it'll be Southport's own domain for the next 2 or 3 months after that. That's when we get all the Spanish and spotties and stuff like that. So at the moment, if you want to troll for Spanish, troll hard bodies. If you want to fish for spotties, fish pillies or troll pillies, slow troll pillies around Palm Beach Reef. Okay, give that a shot. That's probably about it offshore now. Okay, we'll switch now to inshore. So inshore, it's been another week of a lot of bait in the seaway and jumping pin, like lots of bait, lots of white bait and little froggies. And obviously comes with that trevally and tailor, mangrove jacks, heaps of sharks, and it's just been loaded. So jumping pin area, look for the birds diving. The birds are pretty fat at the moment because they've been feeding on the bait too. They're just sitting in the water fat and tired from eating. But there is some really good catches of fish to be had underneath those birds. We can find the bait school. Whether you do sort of slow pitch jigging with little jigs, and I've been talking to guys fishing the seaway, they've been smacking jacks on these sort of things. These little fellows here, sort of 40 grams or 60 grams, depending on the current and that type of thing there, the Jackson, Japanese one. And doing really well and catching mangrove jacks on these things, catching trevally on these things, catching tail if you don't get them bitten off, or sharked. Okay, the sharks are liking them as well. But they've just been whacking fish on those, jigging them up through the bait schools, which is really, really nice, slow pitch, nice easy fishing and great fun. But if you're up at jumping pin area, I'd be probably more going to casting metal slugs into the bait schools and working it back through the bait schools, or maybe doing a bit of micro jigging, but a lot of sharks in that pin area, especially around the mouth of Swan Bay. Whiting wise at the jumping pin area, there's been some really good whiting. They've all been pushed out of the lake, out of the river, and the creeks to the eastern side, so they're around sort of Crusoe Island and Gold Bank and that sort of area around the Tipplers down through to probably the Bedroom and that Pandanus Island, all through that area where the water's starting to clear up now. And it's been clear there on the high tide recently, but definitely starting to get clearer now on the run out and run in. I would be definitely fishing that area for big whiting, and then try the lakes, not the lakes, the lagoons, sorry, on the end of South Australia as well. Okay, come down the Broadwater end of town. The Seaway, as I said, has been fishing really good for jacks, doing that same technique with the slow pitch jigging. Also, soft plastics have been extremely good, and for flatties and jacks in the Seaway. So fishing the Seaway for jacks with this type of thing. This is the new Nemesis prawn from Gulp. So it's actually a Gulp product, but with a very soft tail, which is quite unusual for Gulp. It's normally quite a stiff thing. This one's very soft. And I love using these big prawns, especially that Lumo style one like that. Okay, and that's the Nemesis prawn there. Really good. So drifting the edge in that sort of 40 to 50 foot of water on the end of the north wall of the Seaway, and out past the north wall of the Seaway. Make sure the bar's not rough, Seaway's not rough, and yeah, it's really good fishing, and using those in amongst the white bait and catching mangrove jacks. The other thing that's been really good is you want to catch a feeder dart, and the really big dart, and dart are great fun to catch, and they're not too bad to eat. I know young Stuart here loves dart. You'd probably swap a pearl perch for a dart. But anyhow, that's Stuart. But these are really good. These little, oops, I've dropped it. These are little fused shrimps. And these things, if you fish them on like about a 16th jig head or an 1/8 ounce jig head, size 2 or 1 hook, they just absolutely cannot control themselves fishing with these little fellas here, okay? If you can see that. It's a bit hard to show you. That way. Yep. So that little fella there has got little tentacles in the front. It's got a couple of little wings at the back here that stick out like so, and absolutely smacks the dart and tail and everything. They just love it. Trevally love it. And the cheapest chips, these things, you can get heaps in a packet. They're good. So maybe throw those up against the rock wall. Then come inside the Seaway. There's been a few kingies in the Seaway amongst that bait as well. The old-tail kings up to about 8 or 10 kilos. There's been obviously tailor in that. I think still the odd snapper in the Seaway as well. But I'll be probably heading around the north wall of the Seaway, north wall of Wodebreak, sorry, and having to go for kingies there as well on the edge of that eddy, on the top of the tide and the first to run out. Flatties along the north wall, casting those sodium soft plastics all the way along the north wall from the green beacon inside the Seaway down to the end of the rocks where the trees start on Stratty, which is about a K run heading north. Give that a go. There's been heaps of whiting around Wodebreak Island, and they're big whiting. They're like up to 43, 44 centimetres. As you know, the water's been quite dirty. It's getting clear now though, but all those fish that were up in Coomera, Pimpamar, Coombabar, Nerang River were pushed out from the recent rain we've had, and they all congregated around that Wodebreak Island area, whether it be sort of front of Rano Bay through to about probably Lotus Creek, and all the sandbanks in that area out in the middle of Broadwater and the foreshore. We got one of the gentlemen of these young fellas. They've been smacking the big whiting. They've just been fishing on the foreshore at Pigger Creek down to sort of Labrador area and catching whiting up to 44 centimetres, 43 centimetres off the beach, which is like really well done, guys. Really good effort. One of my favourite whiting hooks I like to use, I use a lot of hooks, but the one I like most, which is the Instinct when we can't get any more. I've since then had to switch, and I switched to these fine worm mustard bait holder hooks in size 4. I find they're really good for using with worms. They're a bit small for using with yabbies, unless you got the little yabbies. But you might have to go to a bit bigger size hook, the 2 or something like that with the yabbies. They've been really good. But yeah, get out there if you're fishing in a boat or you got high tide from the foreshore. Try to fish unweighted. You will have to put up with brim and toadies. That's just the way it is. But the big whiting are amongst all that, and you just got to pull them out of the hat. Other than that, the jacks are starting to get back up in the canal. I know there's a couple of big ones around my area at the moment, which I've seen, which are in the high 50s. They're big fish, and I'm guessing the ones that are in the Seaway are slowly creeping back up the canals as the tide starts to, as the water starts to clear up, sorry. So give that a shot. Off the surf beaches, I'm guessing the whiting, I haven't tried because I've been away for a couple of weeks, but the whiting would definitely be on the surf at the moment because, as I said, they've been pushed out of the rivers. and they've been in the broadwater, and they will be on the foreshore between, say, around the Pump and Jetty, maybe down to, say, Narrowneck. So give that a shot if you like beach fishing. There's a few dart on the beach as well, and that's probably about it in the broadwater. But when you see those bait schools, particularly between the seaway and the first to run in tide as that clear water pushes up, and the bait, those little white bait push up with it, between there and Crab Island, and you see the birds diving even up to Effron Island, and there will be trevally and there'll be tailor, and you can troll shallow diving lures around, you can troll deep little diving lures around, like flatty type ones in, they get down say 6 foot, but you're trolling in like 30 foot of water in the main channel, and just troll through the bait and you pick up all those fish. And you want to cast metals, you can cast metals. You want a micro jig, you can micro jig, okay? And you'll get lots of fish, even with boats zipping all around you. That's probably it for the broadwater. For the beaches and down south, same scenario on the beaches, exactly the same. Crumlin Creek and Tallabudger again, and Tweed, fish out towards the front of the system because that's where all the fish are going to be at the moment while the water's still a bit dirty. In the Hinds Dam, it's been a bit quiet because we've obviously had a lot of rain. It's right up to like 99.4% at the moment capacity. So the next solid bit of rain, we get next 1 day of solid rain, it will pour over the spillway, I dare think. So the fishing gets a little bit quiet when that happens, but there's a lot of feed on the edge of the grass, and they're well fed, the fish at the moment, because when the water rises up the dam, there's a lot of clean feed for them to feed on, and they're not really interested in our lures, or they might take shrimps and stuff like that, but they won't really take lures as good as they normally do. But once we get like a week of no rain and things go back to normal, or 2 weeks maybe, they will start hitting plastics and stuff like that again. And one of my favourite type plastics to use are just like, I call them T-tails or grub tail. They're just a fellow like this type of thing here. These are atomic plazos, really good colour. That's the type of body shape you want to start using. Regardless of brand, that is the shape to use, okay? As long as it's that shape and it's in that sort of 2.5 to 3.5 inch, they will catch a lot of fish, and just slow work it, like your brimfish, and twitch, and let it sit, and just want it slack, and twitch, wait. And that's how it is, okay? There's no current, as you know, in the dams. Although, I don't know if you know this, but dams do have a bite time based on tide. So if the hot bite time, which is normally always 2 hours after high tide, you'll get that same bite time up in the Hinds Dam, or any dam, Wonga, Mondrian, doesn't matter. I don't know how it works, but the fish seem to know something. And so always remember that. Your Sloan chart times, bite times works in the freshwater as well. That's probably about it, guys. We've got heaps of stuff, so much new stuff in. We're stocked of everything we can in Shimano. We've got a heap of divers, certates and saltigas in and stuff like that. We've got all the gear, heaps of lures. We've just got in about 300 small paculas, maybe 400. And we've also got about 150 blue marlin lures just coming as well. If you're chasing blue marlin at the moment, there's a few of those out there. Graham McCloy lost one last Sunday, about 600 pound. And they had another shot as well. So there's some big fish out here at the moment, and there's always big dollies out there in that as well. So yeah, grab your gear. I hope you guys have a really safe holiday. Be careful. You know the COVID rules. Just stick by what you got to do, and we'll enjoy it together and have a good one. And we will catch you. We're open every day, as you know, except for Christmas Day. We are closed, but I've still got to work because it's set up for Boxing Day sale. But anyhow, we will be here. So it's Dougie Burt from Doug Burt's Tackle World on the Gold Coast at number 8 Centreview Drive, Bigger Waters, just behind Harbour Town off Brisbane Road. And please follow and like our Doug Burt's fishing page on YouTube. And if you have the opportunity to see this segment, we have a little different, I always get this wrong, I can't remember how to say it, but different categories in this report, which you can click on any of those categories, so whether it be freshwater or saltwater or offshore. If you don't want to read the other stuff, listen to the other stuff, you can just click on that one, okay? Anyhow, have a good one and a safe one, and I'll see you in the shop. That's Dougie Burt from Doug Burt's Tackle World. Bye-bye.